Well, we're right up next to the game to where Ole Miss has a chance to enact a little bit of vengeance for the last year's result. We bring in Michael Katz from the Northeast Mississippi Daily Journal to tell us all about it.
You are Locked On Ole Miss, your daily podcast on the Ole Miss Rebels. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome to the Locked On Ole Miss podcast, the most watched Ole Miss podcast around. I'm your host, Steven Willis, a 10-year veteran member of the national media with Yahoo Sports and a former Ole Miss staff member as well. On today's show, we're diving into Saturday's matchup with the Kentucky Wildcats, a game at 3:30 Eastern on ABC from Lexington, Kentucky. Let's bring in Michael Katz from the Northeast Mississippi Daily Journal to talk all about it. So, Michael, my question is, Lane Kiffin probably needs to do a good job of protecting his young quarterback because you know that Mark Stoops is going to throw the kitchen sink at him.
100%. I was looking through the stats from last year's game, and obviously different teams and whatnot, but it was pretty staggering what they were able to do to that Ole Miss offense last year. Season low in yards. Almost 200 below what they normally had. I think Jackson Dart threw for 260, was never comfortable. They had 4 sacks. And that was against one of the most experienced and best quarterbacks in the country. It's going to be tough for Austin. The offensive line is one, going to have to, they're definitely going to earn their NIL money in this one. And two, I think the best thing they can do is keep things, I don't want to say simple for Austin, but get those confidence boosting throws. He started off so well in the opener, and then he had a couple of interceptions, one of them not really his fault. But the second one, Lane has said, and Austin admitted, was a bad throw, but he rebounded really well from that. Giving him easy throws, I think, is going to be huge.
Yeah, if you look at the stats and just go into the depth chart, Trey Harris had 11 catches for 178 yards. And Caden Prieskorn, if you remember, there was a fourth down basic heave, essentially. So there's like 25 yards passing that wasn't Trey Harris or that heave.
Yeah. And, Lane has talked about the depth of this receiver room. Last year, as we saw, when Trey Harris got hurt in games, it really impacted the way the offense functioned. When they had time to prepare for being without him, they were actually okay. But when he was game planned for a game and he got hurt, things sort of went awry. I think that with this receiving group, maybe at least not as of yet, you don't have that Trey Harris guy, but you have a lot of really, really good guys where if somebody takes out your quote unquote number one, you've got a number 1A and a 1B and a 1C. Caden Lee, he didn't have his biggest game, but he did what we know he can do. Deshaun Stribling had a couple of really nice catches, and Harrison Wallace got open deep, and they're going to need all of those sorts of things. So I think the depth of the receiving room is going to help them in this matchup.
Yeah, Harrison Wallace was really a revelation, and his receiving yardage, we've all seen that, but his punt return is what got everybody's attention, like 4 returns for a 17-yard average in that game.
Yeah, and considering apparently he had never returned punts before. He said he never did at Penn State. He just saw his name on the board at Ole Miss. It was like, hey, you're in punt returns now. And he was taking it in stride, and he's, again, in a game like this where it might be tight for portions, maybe the whole thing, field position is going to be so important. If you can flip it, it's huge.
Yeah, this is a game that over the course of the week that I talked about, Ole Miss needs to not turn the ball over. Turnovers mean so much more against Kentucky because there are so much fewer in possessions. Like, you might have 7 or 8 offensive possessions for the whole game. You can't go for it on 4th down and not get a first down or fumble the ball or throw an interception. I mean, basically what Mark Stoops has done as a game plan is he believes that college teams cannot drive the field and if they're asked to do it, and he makes you do it. And if you turn the ball over, you're going to go down 2 or 3 possessions in a game, and you're going to try and score 14-point touchdowns, and he's going to have you exactly where he wants you right then.
Yeah, I'm really curious how Ole Miss is going to balance this running game that looked really, really good against, obviously Georgia State's a different competition, but it looked like the run game that we're more used to seeing under Lane. How you balance that with the quick strike passing, because there were times early in that game against Georgia State where I think the first 7 plays were all throws with Austin. And yeah, like they worked, but what if a few of those are incomplete and you get yourself in 3rd and longs and you get to those punt situations or the turnover situations? I'm really curious to see how they balance the running and the passing in this game. Like you said, in a game where you're probably going to have limited possessions, obviously you would love to score on every play. That's Lane Kiffin's dream. But maybe there is something to eating a bit of clock and keeping your offense on the field.
Yeah, I think, and one of the things that I pondered on my show over the course of the week was, hey, do the dinking and dunking. Get some first downs. If the first drive, whether you score or not, if you get 4 first downs on that first drive, that's a success, because it doesn't allow a situation. In last year's game, Kentucky had 40% of the time of possession. We all remember the game a couple of years ago that Kentucky actually lost, where they had 46 minutes of time of possession against Tennessee. They want to play as slow as possible. There might be 3 offensive possessions each for the Kentucky Vanderbilt game this year if that happens.
I think what is a worst case scenario is if we know like Ole Miss wants to occasionally strike deep and early. So say that first down throw is incomplete, and then you're in a 2nd and 10, and then you run for 3 yards and you're in 3rd and 7. That is not like an enviable situation to be in. 3rd and 7, 8s, 9s. You don't want to put Austin in those kind of situations. So I'm fascinated to see how they balance first down play calling, the aggressiveness, versus the dinking and dunking and sort of methodical way of driving down the field.
Yeah, and one thing that gets me a little bit concerned about it is they did give up 191 yards rushing against Georgia State and 5 explosive runs. For the most part of that night, they handled their business and did exactly what they thought they did. But there were 5 explosive runs, and Kentucky makes a living doing that, to the point where the Kentucky host that I was talking to was like, I hope we don't have explosive runs, because it's better if it's 4 or 5 yards and it just is consistent. And that tells you about a mindset of the way they do it, to where if they have an 8-minute drive to start the game and then Ole Miss goes 3 and out in 15 seconds, you might be down 14-0 in the second quarter before you get the ball the second time.
Yeah, I mean, they would rather have less possessions and capitalize on them. I mean, that's the way they're built, and it's so different from what we kind of see now. It's what everybody used to do. Now we are in a very different era of college football, and he is stuck with the throwback method. They've got 2 really good running backs. Obviously, Dante Daddle from Mississippi kid, was at Oregon and Nebraska, I believe. He was a 5-star all everything guy. He's super talented. They've got another one who ran for, I think, 70 or so yards. I know Zach Calzada didn't have the introduction that they were probably hoping for at quarterback for them, but they did. He's like
a pizza, but harder to eat.
They did throw deep a lot. They just didn't hit them. So obviously that's a big ifs and whats. But listen, if Kentucky's going to win this thing, it's going to be ground and pound, and they're going to hit a couple of big plays behind the Ole Miss defense, kind of like what they did last year. Again, the 4th and 7 from the 20 is ingrained in my head forever. The ultimate prayer answered to Barry and Brown. Those things can't happen in a game like this.
Yeah, think about that last drive, because everybody looks back at it, it's like, oh, Kentucky beat Ole Miss, but just think about it.
Ole Miss beat Ole Miss.
Yeah, a 4th down Hail Mary down the sideline. They completed that, and they get the go-ahead touchdown on a ball that's fumbled into the end zone. There were so many things that had to go Kentucky's way for that result to happen, and that's one of the reasons I'm not putting an over amount of stock in that. But this feels like a game, if Kentucky's going to win it, it's 13-10.
Yep.
It's 10-7, something like that. If Ole Miss gets to 20, I don't know if Kentucky can score 20 points.
Yeah, I mean, if this is one of those games where Ole Miss does get off to a hot start and they're up, like you said, 25-30, I don't think that's just not a game that this version of Kentucky can win. A couple years ago when they had Will Levis, maybe, but this is just not what they are. You going back to all the things that went right for Kentucky last year, I think that's what bugged Lane Kiffin the most, is that everything went right. And there were so many opportunities for Ole Miss that just didn't go their way in that game. When we heard from him on, I think it was Sunday's teleconference, you could tell that game really just bugged them. Like, that's just one, no one's going to haunt you, because it's just, what do? It happened.
Yeah. And at the end of the day, that cost you the playoffs. It happened, and it cost you the playoffs at Ole Miss. There's a whole lot of stuff that Lane has to deal with. All right, when we come back, we will talk to Michael Katz about the Ole Miss and Kentucky game tomorrow and basically discuss, I guess, Mark Stoops' video resume to become the Iowa head coach. So you stick around for that. Well, I want to tell you about DoorDash real quick. One thing that's interesting, it's almost the weekend. It's time to look back at and crown this week's MVP on Who Delivered, powered by DoorDash. Just like you can win every Saturday with DoorDash Streak, saving more every time you order, these players delivered when it mattered the most. Let's break it down. For Ole Miss, it's Austin Simmons. He delivered in a big way. His quick decision-making led to a TD by Daquan Wright, and as well as some other touchdowns along the way. When the pressure was on, he came through with no hesitation or no delay. And if you are a ball knower, you know this performance was not a fluke. Austin Simmons is looking to start a streak. And just like Austin Simmons delivered for the Ole Miss Rebels, DoorDash delivers your Saturdays. With DoorDash Streaks, you save every Saturday you order, stack it all up. Over the course of the season, you can save up to $250, including $100 in DoorDash credit. So order this Saturday, keep the streak alive, fuel your game day only with DoorDash. Terms apply. Promo period is running through November 18th. Also, Mazda crafts cars for those who choose to do more than simply move. They follow what moves them every time they drive. And that's what makes Mazda stand out. They go beyond safety, style, and performance to deliver a driving experience that feels alive in every detail. As an athlete focuses on every detail, Mazda does the same, from metallic accents to hand-stitched Napa leather. You can feel it in the moment you get behind the wheel, the smooth handling, intuitive controls, and the standard all-wheel drive in every crossover SUV. Whether it's a quick drive to practice or a weekend road trip, Mazda makes everyday drives feel special. It's the small details that make the big plays. Just like there's more to every player, there's more to every Mazda vehicle. Mazda, move and be moved. All right, so let's go back to Michael Katz. Now, Michael, I made a comment right before the commercial, and we were talking about Mark Stoops being like a video resume for the Iowa coach, and that is hilarious because he is probably the heir apparent. He is the first phone call that's going to be made, and he plays exactly the same way as Kurt French does.
Yeah, no, I mean, it really is the Spider-Man pointing at Spider-Man meme in terms of play style. I don't know if you before the season started, there was like a video going around of their new quarterback completing like an out route, and people were just losing it. And I was like, man, very, very different, very different styles of football around the country. Let's just
how many aneurysms in Iowa would Lane cause?
I don't know what to do.
Yeah, it's like, no, this isn't illegal. You can't do this.
You can't go that fast.
Yeah, it's like Wisconsin hiring Phil Longo and running the spread. He's like, that had to be a major culture shock.
Yeah, that and we see how well that worked. I believe they have gone back to what they do.
Yes, Wisconsin's gone back to being Wisconsin, so that should be interesting indeed. All right, so I'm looking at the fact that the more I've looked at the game, it looked like Ole Miss was pretty vanilla on offense, and they were pretty vanilla on defense, as you would expect with Kentucky coming up the following week. To the point where Santarin Perkins, they didn't move him around hardly any. It was just kind of, hey, go play linebacker or something like that in the game. I'm expecting Perkins to have a big day and for them to start lining him up all over the place against Kentucky.
Yeah, if I remember correctly, he had a pretty good game against them last year too. A sack and a half or 2 sacks. He and Princely, I think, had really big games. Obviously, a different offensive line now. But yeah, I mean, again, he's the ultimate chess piece. I mean, listen, if you don't need to move him around and scheme him against Georgia State, why would you put it on film, right?
Right.
But yeah, I remember looking on the field and being like, I haven't really heard his name much and haven't seen much from him. And I imagine, like you said, that was probably by design. Why put the tape out there before you start SEC play week 2?
All right, since you were at the ball game, we'll talk about Georgia State before we move on. Anybody in the game that just kind of drew your eye?
I was impressed by one. Kewan Lacy. Was hard not to watch him. I think the power I was more impressed with.
The contact balance.
Yeah, we knew he was dynamic and that he had a burst. I don't know if I knew how strong his foundation was and his ability to stay upright. That was really impressive. That's a guy who can carry the ball deep into games. Like he is not just a one-trick pony, a scat back type. He's that dude can tote it big time. So I was really impressed with him. I was impressed with Taj Chambers too. We've heard a lot about him in the offseason and his story of, he's an FCS kid and he comes up and, really wasn't one of the guys that we were talking about coming in. There were other guys at linebacker who I think we're more focused on, but he's come in and he's done a really nice job. He had a nice first game. Same with Yates as well. I think that we know Suntarine Perkins and TJ Daugherty are very good. It's what else can you get from the linebacking core? I think that they have to be pretty happy with what they saw.
Yeah, and Zxavian Harris had an elite game. Yeah, he was a monster against Georgia State. My question is going to be moving forward, what do you do with the other interior defensive lineman, Will Eccles or Jam Brown? If Zxavian Harris is going to give you that every time, he is going to demand a double team because he's a game wrecker and you have to double team him. If Will Eccles and Jam Brown can do the same, you have essentially what you had a year ago with J.J. Pegues and Walter Nolan, because 4 of those offensive line are taken up and the defensive ends can run around on tight ends and 1 tackle.
Yeah, no, and it's Harris, obviously, I think he was the defensive lineman of the week or whatever. I mean, the interception, first of all, that was incredible stuff. He was absolutely shook that the quarterback threw it to him. Watching him reenact it at a press conference was incredible. But, he's a guy that, he was really highly touted coming in, and he's looked good in his career. He's just never been the guy. Mm-hmm. Now he is the guy, and he's looked every bit the part. Yeah, I mean, if you're getting that consistently from him, obviously you're not going to always have the defensive lineman of the week, but if you get that consistent effort production from him, and you get something good from the other interior linemen, you're in a really good spot. You're going to have a lot of opportunities to rush the passer.
Yeah, and you look at the front 7 of Ole Miss, I think the defensive line, the 2 deep, are all 4- and 5-star players. I mean, they're immensely talented. I was impressed by Deshaun Womack. He looked like he had another gear and was more twitchy than I thought he was.
Well, he came in angry too, as I think we all, as we heard with the pregame.
You don't mess with another man's chain.
I don't know why you mess with someone when you're a 35-point underdog. I just don't think that's a good idea personally, but that was a questionable decision. I don't think that their head coach was probably too thrilled with that one either. Why are you gonna poke the bear? But no, he looked really good. He's he was a highly touted guy, a 5-star guy at LSU. But I think twitchy, that's a good term. I think he's more athletic than I thought in terms of bend and lateral quickness rather than just straightforward pin your ears back.
Yeah, and he's playing a lot of the jack position. And for people that don't know, that's where Prince Will and Mommy Ellen, that's where Suntarine Perkins, whenever he's lined up on the line, that's what he's playing. And Deshaun Womack's 260 pounds. He's a big guy. It's not like Suntarine Perkins at 220, 220. And Prince Will and Monmielen at like 240. I mean, he's a big guy.
No, he looks the part. I mean, he definitely passes the eyeball test. And again, it's one game, and he's obviously different games are going to call for different scenarios and schemes. But Pete Golding knows what he wants from certain players. Like you look for attributes, right? And you look for certain things from guys that are going to fit what you want them to do and need them to do. You can't have everybody do everything. You gotta find guys who can do the specific things you want them to do. And again, it's one game against Georgia State, but it looks like the guys again from the portal and that he's recruited are checking off those boxes.
Yeah, when we come back, we will hit our final segment with Michael Katz and talk to him about Antonio Kite and the secondary as a whole. So stick around for that. Hey, Ole Miss, Locked On Ole Miss fans, are you still paying full price for gas? Stop leaving money behind. Get real cash back every time you fill up with the free Upside app. Simply download the free Upside app in the App Store or Google Play right now and start earning cash at the pump today. Use my limited time promo code. It is really creative. Write this down, football, and get an extra 25 cents back per gallon on your first fill up. You could make up to $300 a year just from buying gas that you already needed. You know, at first I thought this was kind of too good to be true, but it is completely legit. Real people getting paid just to make their daily commute. You can too. Plus, you can cash out at any time, whether it be to your bank account or PayPal, or get an e-gift card to Amazon or somewhere else. Again, that's promo code football. Don't let this offer drive on by. Download the free Upside app by using my limited time promo code football for a limited time 25 cent per gallon bonus. Offers may vary by user and location. Go to upside.com for terms and condition. Also, the NFL season is here, honestly. And FanDuel is making sure you are ready for kickoff with a can't miss offer. Right now, new customers can bet just $5. And if that bet wins, you get $300 to use around the app. I love using FanDuel because it fits however you like to bet, either player props or doing a same game parlay or even jumping in live, something like that. So if you're ready to play, download the FanDuel app now by visiting FanDuel.com to get started. That's FanDuel.com to place that first $5 bet. All right, so Michael, one thing that's interesting to me, I was told before the game last week, Georgia State had one NFL player on their roster, somebody that you can count on. He's a surefire Sunday guy, and his name's Jeff Hurst. He's a wide receiver. And against Vanderbilt, he went off. Whenever they did anything of any relevance a year ago, it was Jeff Hurst that did it. Jeff Hurst had one catch for 8 yards against Antonio Kite Saturday night. I get that it's Georgia State. I get all of that stuff. But holding that guy to that makes me feel a little bit better about what they're about to see on Saturday, if that makes sense.
Yeah, and Lane mentioned that their goal was to take away Hurst. And when you do that, obviously it's hard for them to really do much on offense. And that held true. Again, that dude's really good. He had almost 1,000 yards last year, 9 touchdowns. I think he was first team all conference. That guy can play. He's really good. So again, for a first time seeing Kite live action in a game at Ole Miss, it's got to feel pretty good. And you've got reinforcements on the way. I don't even think Braxton played in the game last week. So, again, it's Georgia State. It's different, but they had less than 70 yards passing. I mean, that's pretty incredible, regardless of who you're playing. Mercer and Furman, I think, had more passing yards than that against Ole Miss. So that's pretty good to hold any FBS team to that total, and you have to think it's going to get better. But I think if you're looking for a positive of your quote unquote your number one corner, I think you probably feel pretty good about Kite right now. Obviously, there's going to be a lot of really good receivers in the SEC, but if you can hold that guy down, you can probably hold your own against most of them.
Yeah, and once again, if Nick Saban recruits you to play defensive back, you can play defensive back. That's what we learned in that game. Also, Ricky Fletcher, didn't really hear that too much about him in the game as well. I think the combination of Kite and Fletcher, that's an interesting combination for them to do. And like you said, when Jalen Braxton comes back, and heck, I don't remember seeing Chris Graves. I'm sure he played, but I don't remember seeing him. And I think Dante Core comes back as well. So there's some weapons in the secondary, and Pete Golding has done a nice job doing the Frankenstein's monster type thing in the secondary to where they look like they're better than they're advertised.
Yeah, no, it's the job Pete Golding has done over the last 2+ years is pretty remarkable in terms of just working with what you have and being able to scheme and finding players who fit what you do. It's again, I've covered some Ole Miss teams without Pete Golding. It was just very different, and he brings a different level of defensive acumen to this program. It's you can't give him enough credit.
All right, Michael Katz from the Northeast Mississippi Daily Journal. He's leaving tomorrow, going to Lexington. What's your plans?
Drive 7.5 hours and lose an hour, and then probably just go to sleep. Yeah. Actually, I do believe I might be going through Bowling Green, so I might have to go find Big Red. I might have to find Big Red.
Yeah, you are absolutely going through Bowling Green, Kentucky if you're driving from Oxford. And I know that because I used to live in the Nashville area. They also have the Corvette Museum in Bowling Green.
Ooh, okay.
Yeah, so if you need a break a little bit, you can go look at some Corvettes. They had a sinkhole about 4 or 5 years ago inside the museum to where like Corvettes, like $1 million Corvettes got ruined. Yeah, it was just on a sinkhole. It was weird. So what do you got going on at the Daily Journal this week, bud?
We've got a lot of Kentucky prep. I got in touch with one of the beat writers at Kentucky to sort of analyze what their team is right now, what they learned in their win against Toledo, how this team sort of compares to what they had last year. And I think the thing I was most interested in is they won this huge game against Ole Miss and tanked from there. Like, what the hell happened? So a little bit on that, some scouting reports on both teams. Really, really interested to see this new Kentucky offensive line. They've got 166 career starts among them, not all at Kentucky. The offensive line was not very good last year for most of the year at Kentucky. By all accounts, it is very, very much improved. So some stuff on that, and just looking at all the little details heading into this one.
All right, you be safe heading to Kentucky for the game, and of course heading back as well. But we'll talk to you next week, bud.
Sounds good, man. Appreciate you.
All right, thanks again for making the Locked On Ole Miss podcast your go-to source for Ole Miss sports. We pride ourselves in offering the most comprehensive perspectives, which is why we're the front door of Ole Miss. If you don't believe me, Google Ole Miss podcast. We're like 80% of that page, so don't forget to subscribe, like, and comment. It helps the show, and it is completely free. Your support means the world to us. Locked On had a pretty big moment. College football fans, Locked On and Fire TV are presenting College Football Kickoff, your ultimate college football weekly preview. Drake Toll at Locked On Big 12 leads the conversation alongside two-time AP Coach of the Year, Gary Patterson, who I will get on my show before this year's over. That is my goal in life, to get Gary Patterson on the show. Former college star Jesse Holley and Locked On's local experts, the college football preview that only Locked On can do. Catch College Football Kickoff every Thursday throughout the season, only on Fire TV. Howdy toddy, everybody. And remember, analytics is just the old English word that means bad football. We will see you tomorrow.